On our newscast tonight, doubts creep in about the inter-Korean family reunions scheduled for next week after representatives from the South and North emerged from 14 hours of negotiations. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrives in Seoul on his 5th trip to Asia since becoming Washington's chief diplomat. He'll be followed in 2 months' time by U.S. President Barack Obama himself, who's confirmed he will visit Seoul to discuss the prickly relations between Korea and Japan. In sports, in Sochi, Motaebam falls way short of bagging gold in speed skating. Team Korea has just 1 goal so far in Sochi. We'll look at where they might be able to break the drought. Stay with us for these stories and more coming up on Early Edition at 6.
It is 4 a.m. in Washington, 1 p.m. in Sochi, and 6 on a Thursday evening here in Seoul. Welcome to Early Edition at 6. I'm Moon Gon-young.
I'm Daniel Chen. Thank you for joining us.
Now, for the first time in 7 years, high-level officials from the two Koreas sat down together in a room for talks on Wednesday.
And they'll do it again Friday on North Korea's request. Our Park Ji-won tells us what they're expected to discuss.
South and North Korea will hold another round of high-level talks on Friday at Panmumjom, the border town between two Koreas. North Korea suggested the two Koreas meet on Thursday afternoon, but the South Korean government countered with an offer of 10 a.m. on Friday, which the North accepted. The meeting will be a follow-up to high-level talks that began on Wednesday and ended 14 hours later with no concrete agreement in place. The two sides did agree in principle to proceed as planned with reunions for families separated by the Korean War from the 20th to the 25th. But the North also urged South Korea to postpone its joint military exercises with the United States that are slated to start February 24th. South Korea's defense ministry rejected that call on Thursday and reiterated that the annual drills are strictly defensive in nature. Unification Minister Ryu Gil-jae, in an appearance at the National Assembly on Thursday, said he still expects the reunions to be held as scheduled. As for Friday's talks, the Unification Ministry believes Pyongyang asked for another meeting because Wednesday's had finished without a resolution. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, as for the first round of interkorean contact, the South Korean government said earlier on this Thursday that yesterday's meeting was an opportunity to clearly explain its principle to the North and to learn a little bit more about Pyongyang's intentions. Presidential spokesperson Min Kyung-wook told reporters that the South Korean delegation explained President Park's envisioned trust-building process with North Korea, as well as her thoughts on inter-Korean relations. Now, Seoul also got to know how sensitive Pyongyang is when it comes to the South military drills with the U.S. and South Korean media coverage denouncing the North. However, the spokesperson said the agenda did not include resuming tours to the North Mount Kimgang Resort or lifting South Korean sanctions in response to the North torpedo attack on a South Korean warship in 2010.
Moving on to other stories, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in Seoul this afternoon on the first stop of his 5th trip to Asia since becoming Washington's chief diplomat. After paying a courtesy call to President Park Geun-hye, Secretary Kerry will meet with his South Korean counterpart Unveils at Seoul's foreign ministry in about half an hour. The two diplomats are expected to reaffirm the strength of the South Korea-U.S. alliance, discuss ways to expand cooperation on regional and global issues, and continue close coordination to promote North Korea's denuclearization. However, topping the agenda will be the second round of a high-level meeting between South and North Korean officials scheduled for Friday. Kerry and Unveils will hold a joint press conference following their meeting. Secretary Kerry will leave for China tomorrow. And U.S. President Barack Obama will be visiting Seoul in a few weeks, following diplomatic efforts by South Korea to be added to the itinerary. Our Kim Young-gil has the details.
U.S. President Barack Obama has added South Korea to the itinerary for his upcoming trip to Asia. The White House confirmed on Wednesday that the Asia trip is part of Obama's ongoing commitment to increase U.S. diplomatic, economic, and security engagement with countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Although no dates have been released yet, it's reported the president will visit Tokyo first from April 22nd to 23rd, then Seoul from the 23rd to the 24th. During his stay in Seoul, the U.S. president plans to meet with President Park Geun-hye, where they are expected to reaffirm the two sides' alliance, review the security situation on the peninsula, and discuss the Korea-U.S. free trade deal. Now that Seoul is on the itinerary, speculation is rising as to whether President Obama will address the prickly relations between Seoul and Tokyo. A number of disputes over history and territory have chilled relations between the two, especially after Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited a shrine honoring convicted war criminals in December. Obama may, however, choose to stay away from arbitrating the complex historical problems and territorial disputes between the two. North Korea's nuclear program will top the agenda when Park and Obama meet, along with the timing of the transfer of wartime operational control of U.S. forces in South Korea from the U.S. to South Korea. The transfer date was originally slated for next year, but South Korea has been pushing for a delay. April will also be a critical time for trade negotiations. Obama is expected to try to push to tie the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement to the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Pact that includes 12 nations, as Korean participation in the partnership could further cement a future trading order in Asia that would include North America. 김영길, Arirang News.
For most families of school-aged children here in Korea, private tutoring is not an option. It's a necessity to ensure their kids don't fall behind. But President Park Geun-hye wants to change that, and the Education Ministry, in its status report to the President on Thursday, unveiled measures to that end. Our Presidential Office correspondent Oh Jin-ju reports.
In an effort to reduce private tutoring and get students more focused on their schooling, the government will force universities to give a 0 mark on applications that include awards or certificates received outside of school. These will include TOEFL or other English language test scores, Math and Science Olympiad awards, and extracurricular education prizes received from private institutions. During the Education Ministry's status report on Thursday, President Park emphasized the need to keep the education system from pushing students to learn upper-grade courses in advance in an attempt to reduce mounting private tutoring expenses in the country. In particular, she pointed to the excessive pursuit of English language education in Korea, saying that there must be fundamental measures to put brakes on the trend. With regard to the controversy surrounding history textbooks as to whether they lean to the left or right, President Park ordered the ministry to make sure history textbooks are based on facts and have a balanced perspective. The president also slammed the Culture and Sports Ministry, which gave a status report along with the Education Ministry on Thursday, and ordered them to look into what caused Korean short-track speed skating star An Hyun-soo to change his nationality. She pointed to irrationalities and systematic disorders in the sports world. An won 3 Olympic gold medals for Korea in 2006, but became a naturalized Russian citizen in 2011 after failing to qualify for the national team ahead of the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics. An's family claims that was due to fractional feuds in the sports sector. President Park called for a system in which athletes could be evaluated based solely on their performance and one in which the fairness of referees was guaranteed. She urged the ministry to come up with measures to root out corruption in the sports arena. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
You know, it's hard to believe, but almost a week has passed since the Sochi Winter Olympics kicked off last Friday. And in that time, we've seen new champs emerge and defending champions leave early without winning medals.
Lots of upsets and surprises there. For the updates and results that are making headlines in Sochi, we now go over to Arirang News' Song Ji-sun, who is usually in charge of these big sporting events. So Ji-sun, I am very ashamed of the Korean fans who are turning against Motebom, calling him from motorbomb to Motebom these days. But it's in the ashes of defeat that he will find the seed of victory tomorrow. So I look forward to more great things from him. But of course, first of all, congratulations to the gold medalists. They've earned it.
All right, and going back to Motebom, it seems like the Dutch skaters really stepped up their games over the past 4 years. Korea's Motebom won 2 medals back in Vancouver, a gold in 500 and a silver in 1,000 meters. But despite intense training for the 1,000 meter, Motebom finished in 12th place in this event, meaning he'll be leaving Sochi without a medal. Stefan Groothuis of the Netherlands won the event in a minute 8.39 seconds. Canada's Danny Morrison followed, and another Dutch skater, Michael Mulder, won the bronze, making the first multi-medalist in Sochi after his gold in the men's 500 meters. And taking you now to the Iceberg Skating Palace, a couple of Russian pairs took home gold and silver after winning the team event earlier this week. Skating the long program to Jesus Christ Superstar, her world champion pair, Tatiana Volsazar and Maxim Trankov, finished with a combined 236.86 points, keeping their lead from the short program. Russia's Ksenia Stobova and Fedor Klimov claimed the silver, and Germany's Aliona Savchenko and Robin Salkovi came in third. And over on the mountain, just like in the men's event, women's snowboarding has a new champion in the halfpipe, and 3 former Olympic champions had to settle for being runners-up. It's the 24-year-old American Caitlin Farrington, who didn't stand out too much in the previous X Games or the FIS World Cups. But she nailed it in the world's biggest sporting event with a stunning run at 91.75 points. Returning Vancouver champion Australian Tora Bright missed out on gold by just a quarter of a point, and American Kelly Clark, the 2002 Salt Lake City winner, took home bronze. Torino 2006 gold medalist Hannah Titter missed out the podium, also by just a quarter of a point. And with these new medals from snowboarding, Team USA adds to its total. In fact, all 3 of its golds so far in Sochi have come from snowboarding. Taking a closer look at the medal standings as of this Thursday evening, Germany is now on top after gathering another medal and the gold in the luge. That's 3 golds now for the Germans in this event. Canada and Norway follow, and the Netherlands has no trouble staying in the 4th, with all of its gold medals coming from the speed skating. And as you just saw in the medal standings, each country has its own strength, and that used to be the short track speed skating for Team Korea. While the male skaters haven't been able to pick up any medals in this event, we have a young up-and-coming rising star who might be able to reclaim Korea's top spot at number 1 in the short track. 17-year-old Kim Seok-hee is shooting for a podium finish in all 3 races entering in Sochi. She ranked 2nd in the qualifying for the 500 meters at just over 44 seconds, and the remaining rounds go on tonight with the final set for 9:05 p.m. Korea time. Korea's first gold medalist, Lee Sang-hwa, will be back on the track in the 1,000 meter speed skating, although it's not her strongest event. Well, it seems like the women are faring better than men for Team Korea in Sochi so far. We'll keep you updated with live results from the short track and elsewhere throughout the night. Ganyang.
All right, that was our Song Ji-sun with a wrap-up of Day 6 and a preview of what's on tap for Day 7.
Now we are approaching the midway point of the Sochi Winter Olympics, and hundreds of millions of people around the world are tuning in to watch the games on television or online.
Well, to make it even easier for Korean fans, local tech firms have developed smartphone apps so fans can be up to date on all the latest results anytime, anywhere. Polly reports.
Whether it's catching a glimpse of figure skating star Kim Yeon-ah or speed skating legend Lee Sang-hwa, watching Team Korea compete on the ice is a must-see experience for fans here at home and abroad. To ensure fans never miss a single Olympic event, local web portal firms have released their own mobile applications to celebrate the Winter Games. Designed for smartphones and tablet PCs, the special apps offer video on demand and real-time streaming services of the races and events. Many users say the services are convenient to use whenever or wherever they want to catch up on the latest highlights.
Even though the events I'm interested in take place at night, I'm still able to watch them on my mobile. I also leave supportive comments and view information on the athletes.
Korea's internet-based television or IPTV industry has also jumped on board. The mobile IPTV apps are now available to give users unlimited access to the high-definition broadcasts of the games.
At the Sochi Olympics and other national events, it's important for Koreans to collectively cheer on and support our national athletes. That's why we're offering data and content usage relating to the Sochi Olympics free of charge.
With the proliferation of smartphones, it's never been easier to watch your favorite athletes take on the world and hopefully rise to the top of the podium. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with heroes and experts to help you understand the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best with Moon Gun-young and Daniel Che on Early Edition at 6.
Now shifting gears to the economy, Korean import prices rose by 2 Korea has taken one step closer to inking a trade deal with its 7th largest trading partner, Australia. Korea's trade ministry said Thursday that the chief negotiators of the two countries initialed the free trade agreement on Monday and agreed to formally sign it in the first half of this year. The trade package is expected to boost exports of Korean products like automobiles and televisions, but there are concerns it could pose a threat to local farmers. Now, two-way trade between Korea and Australia totaled at over $30 billion in 2013. One of the biggest and most recognizable tech companies in the world is gearing up to make a huge investment here in Korea. Microsoft says it plans to build a massive $9 billion data center somewhere in the country, but it has yet to decide on a location. Our Yudian reports.
Microsoft's plans to build a data center in Korea would make it by far the largest investment ever made in Korea by a global technology firm. Microsoft Korea said on Wednesday that its head office will build a data center on 330,000 square meters of land. While the exact amount is yet to be decided, Microsoft is looking to invest over 10 trillion won, or roughly $9.4 billion into the project. Considering the scale of the project and the investment, Microsoft's data center could be the largest of its kind in all of Asia. It will be twice as big as the data center Google says it plans to build in Taiwan. The data center will also serve as a facility to provide a backup service for data flowing in from Asia and other parts of the world. A delegation from Microsoft has reportedly already visited Korea to look at possible sites, with the southernmost port city of Busan rising as a strong candidate. Microsoft is believed to have chosen Korea for its data center as the country holds excellent maintenance and repair manpower, is less prone to natural disasters, and has cheap electricity. Yurian, Arirang News.
Shifting our focus back to Korea, the Bank of Korea has left its key interest rate unchanged at 2.5% for the 9th straight month in February. Following its monthly monetary policy meeting Thursday, the central bank said it expects the local and global economy to stay on a path of moderate recovery. The central bank, however, took note of the financial instability in emerging economies stemming from the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to scale back its monthly bond buying stimulus program. The nation's inflation rate ran below the central bank's target band for the 20th straight month in January, standing at 1.1%. Korea's largest listed firms had a tough 2013, contrary to the success that automobile industry enjoyed. A new report from the Federation of Korean Industry shows the company suffered bigger growth setbacks last year than they did back in 2009, the year after the onset of the global financial crisis. The Federation says sales growth numbers for almost 150 large listed companies were poorer compared to those for the 1,500 or so non-financial sector business traded on the country's stock markets. The report found that well over a third of the companies couldn't even pay back the interest on their debts due to slumping profits. An official from the Federation says a recovery is unlikely this year due to global uncertainty in emerging markets and weak domestic demand. In an indication that Korea's housing market may be on the track to recovery, housing transactions rose sharply last month. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport said Thursday that the number of transactions came to around 58,000 in January, a 117% increase from the previous month. By region, the number of housing transactions in the Seoul metropolitan area soared the most by more than 200%. The ministry attributed the surge to recent government policies, including a reduction in acquisition taxes and the double taxation on owners of multiple houses.
The country's financial regulator vowed to upgrade the data protection system as Korea reels from the shock of the largest ever personal data leak in its history. Now, during a meeting at the National Assembly Thursday, Financial Services Commission Chair Shin Jae-yoon reiterated the importance of protecting client data and vowed to improve the nation's data security structure in order to regain the public trust. He also offered an apology for the leak. Now, Shin added that the previously proposed 3-month suspension of businesses at the 3 card firms where the leak occurred will begin as early as Friday. Domestic banks have been put on high alert as their net profit last year was slashed in half. The Financial Supervisory Service said Thursday that the net profit of 18 domestic banks came in at 4 trillion won, roughly $3.7 billion in 2013, which represents a more than 53% drop from the year before. Now, the drop was particularly pronounced in the fourth quarter of last year, when a loss of $94 million was recorded. An official at the Financial Supervisory Service attributes the numbers to low interest rates and bad loans. And adding to the worries, the interest margin rate fell significantly to 1.87%, the lowest in 10 years. Now, the heavy snowfall blanketing the eastern province of Gangwon-do, provincial authorities have announced plans to deploy heavy-duty snow removal equipment and about 1,800 people to help with cleanup operations there.
Officials estimate the storm has caused roughly $3.3 million in damage so far, but given that more than 40 centimeters of snow fell overnight, that total is expected to rise. As of Thursday morning, at least 210 facilities had collapsed or been damaged under the sheer weight of the snow.
So too much snowfall wreaking havoc here in Korea, but over in Sochi, too little snow is a problem. Well, let's go and get a check on the weather conditions with our Michelle Park for the weather here as well as in Sochi. Now, Michelle, it looks like the warm weather continues there in Sochi.
That's right, Kanyang, and with today's weather, it's starting to resemble the Summer Olympics.
Well, Michelle, it looks like Mother Nature is not a big fan of winter games. This could actually cause a lot of problems for the athletes, right?
Right. The higher temperature can be dangerous if the snow melts, especially if there are a string of days of warm weather. The high in Sochi tomorrow is expected to hit 17 degrees in the afternoon. However, the temperatures are expected to go down starting next week. And now the updates for Korea. It feels like spring in the most regions, bringing highs up to 9 degrees tomorrow. Although there is heavy snowfall alert in effect along the east coast. Going over to the readings, the temperature in the mornings are still cold. Seoul will start off the morning at -2 degrees and gets up to 7 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, Daegu and Busan will get up to 6 and 7 degrees respectively. Now down onto Jeju Island, there won't be much of the sun. Daejeon will get up to 7, while Dokdo hits 2 and Mangeumgang stays at -8. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and back to you guys.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. This has been Daniel Choi.
And I'm Moon Gun-young. Thank you as always for being here with us. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and we'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Good night.